Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to Chapter 2, Lesson 5. This is going to be the last lesson in this chapter, and we're going to talk about what links the Northeast to the world. So in this lesson, you're going to use your investigative skills to explore important ways that the Northeast is connected to the world. Reading and talking about the Northeast, about how the Northeast is linked to the world will help you understand the importance of this region. And you'll be able to give examples of people, places, and organizations from the Northeast that have had an important impact on our world. This building that you're seeing here in the picture is called the United Nations Building, and we're going to read about that in our lesson. You can see there are several flags from different countries around the world surrounding the United Nations Building. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our reading. Now, while we read the text, think about the connection that the United Nations has to the Northeast and how it connects it to the world. Circle any words that you don't know. Underline clues that help you answer the questions: what is the United Nations? What does it do? Where is its headquarters or main office? And how has it affected the world? Then you're going to underline the problems that the signers of the United Nations Charter hope to solve. Many nations meet in one city. One of the most important buildings in the world is in the Northeast. It is the United Nations headquarters, a meeting place for people from many countries. It is located in New York City. After World War II, people in many different countries wanted to find a way to prevent future wars. They saw the terrible harm that wars caused, including the loss of lives, the destruction of property, and the spread of poverty and hunger. On June 26, 1945, representatives in 50 countries signed the United Nations Charter. This important agreement established the United Nations, an organization created to encourage countries to work together for peace. Down here in blue, you can see the flag of the United Nations. Now, up on the top right, you can see where it says the Charter of the United Nations, and you can see the different signatures listed here. Primary source, in their words, United Nations Charter. We, the people of the United Nations, determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind, and to reaffirm faith in the fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, in the equal rights of men, women, and of nations large and small. All right, we're going to go ahead and make sure you underlined the answers to these questions, as well as problems that the representatives or the signers of the United Nations Charter wanted to solve. You'll find that in the primary source section, and that you circled any words that you were unfamiliar with. Once you've completed that, we're going to flip to the next page and look where it says main idea and details. So based on the pictures and the text that we read, we're going to fill in the information in this small graphic organizer below. Where it says main idea, the main idea of the reading that we just did was that the United Nations headquarters was an important meeting place for different representatives from countries around the world. Then you're going to list 3 details. So you can list any 3 details here that you like. You can include what city it was in, how many countries signed there, and what their purpose was. What was the reason they put together this organization? Once you've completed that, we're going to go on to the next page, where we're going to read in our textbooks from page 104 to 111. And we're going to find 4 main ideas on those pages and add 3 details that give us more information about that main idea. So let's go ahead and jump into our textbook, and we're going to go to page 104 all the way to page 111. What links the Northeast to the world? The Northeast trades with the world. Waterways helped the development of trade and shipping in the Northeast. In colonial times, trade between the American colonies and Great Britain allowed port cities like New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Baltimore to grow. The bays and harbors of the Northeast ports provided easy access to natural resources such as lumber and fish. Ships continue to move people and goods between the Northeast and other countries. Trade between the nations allows people to get what they need. In addition, people come from all over the world to live and work in the Northeast. Northeastern cities are also linked to inland states by rivers, the Great Lakes, and the Erie Canal. Other bodies of water help increase trade between countries. The St. Lawrence Seaway, which is the border between the United States and Canada in some places, provides a route for ships to sail from the Atlantic Ocean to the Great Lakes. Today, some of the most important centers of trade are located in the Northeast. Industries including manufacturing, finance, mining, fishing, farming, high technology, and tourism. These Northeastern industries contribute to the economy of the United States and strengthen its connection to the world. So one of the main ideas that we can list in our workbook is that the waterways of the Northeast supported trade between the United States and other countries. And then you can pull 3 supporting details to add to the detail section of your graphic organizer. The United Nations. The United Nations, or the UN, is an international organization that promotes world peace, respect for human rights, and better living standards. People from 193 countries meet to work on these issues at its headquarters in New York City. In 1945, when the UN was founded, 50 nations first signed the United Nations Charter, a document that set out the UN's main purposes. The purposes included encouraging friendships between nations, promoting respect for human rights, and working together to solve problems. Some of the UN's accomplishments include keeping the peace. The UN has helped negotiate or arrange at least 172 peace settlements. It has also taken part in over 300 international treaties. Promoting good health. As part of the UN, the World Health Organization leads its efforts to end such diseases as malaria, polio, and HIV and AIDS. Protecting children. In 1946, the UN created UNICEF to help children affected by war. They work for children to have rights to protection, education, healthcare, shelter, and good nutrition. Former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt was the first woman to become a United States delegate to the United Nations. In 1948, she gave a powerful speech on universal human rights. Primary source, in their words, Eleanor Roosevelt. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Malala at the United Nations. Malala Yousafzai stood before the UN General Assembly in September 2015. This was not her first time speaking to this group of world leaders. She was back to urge them to uphold education as a right for every child. Malala has good reason to persist in this cause. Years earlier, she had been shot in the head in Pakistan for defying a group opposed for girls' education. Would leaders sitting here, said Malala, look up because their future generation is raising their voice? As government officials gazed up into the balcony of the vast room, they saw young representatives from all over the world. Each one held up a blue lantern. Malala continued, today, we are 193 young people representing billions more. Each lantern we hold represents hope for our future. Primary source, in their words, Malala Yousafzai. We must not forget millions of children are out of school. We must not forget that our sisters and brothers are waiting for a bright, peaceful future. So for your next main idea section, you can put in that the United Nations in New York is an important organization for the world. In this details section, you can talk about how many nations meet there, how many peace settlements they negotiated, and how they developed the World Health Organization to help end disease and disease, hunger, and promote children's rights to education. Global Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is not a state, yet claims its own place in the United States. The letters D.C. stand for District of Columbia. What makes this district important? It's our nation's capital. Washington, D.C. is also a center for international relations, a place that supports cooperation and goodwill between countries. More than 175 embassies are located here. An embassy is an office of a group of people who represent their home country from a location in another country. Many important American landmarks are located in Washington, D.C. Hundreds of monuments honor important people and events in American history. The most famous building is the White House, where the president lives. Dignitaries or important officials from around the world are often invited to the White House. Other notable buildings include the Capitol with its round domed roof, and the Library of Congress, the largest library in the world. The Capitol building is located on the National Mall of Washington, D.C., along with many other monuments, museums, and government buildings. Benjamin Banneker. Planning a city takes careful thinking. Benjamin Banneker, who helped plan and design Washington, D.C., was a great thinker from the Northeast. He was born in 1731 when Maryland was still a British colony. Although his father had been enslaved, Benjamin Banneker grew up free. He loved to read and taught himself math and science. By the time Banneker was a young man, he had invented America's first clock that people came from all over the world to see. Over time, he became known for his extensive learning. He published guides to astronomy, the study of objects in space, and wrote essays that called for an end to slavery and war. In the 1790s, Banneker did some of his most important work. President George Washington appointed him to a team that planned the new capital, Washington, D.C. When the lead planner quit and took the plans, Banneker saved the project. He had memorized all of the plans, so he redid the plans for the team. He died in October 1806 at his home. For your next main idea section, you can discuss Washington, D.C., and you can put in that Washington, D.C. is one of the most important places in the United States. And you can list different reasons that make it important. So any 3 details that you want from what we read on these 2 pages can go into those sections. You can talk about its place in the United States. You can talk about the different embassies and how many they have, making it kind of the central area for international relations from the United States. And you can talk about some of the landmarks and monuments that are found there. The region connects to Canada. Bodies of water can form national borders between places, such as states or countries. The St. Lawrence Seaway is part of the border between the United States and Canada. The Canadian provinces that border the St. Lawrence Seaway and the United States are Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, and Ontario. The Seaway connected the Atlantic Ocean with all the Great Lakes. In 1959, the St. Lawrence Seaway opened. Canals were installed with locks at each end. These locks raise or lower ships as they sail from one level of water to another. Today, ships were built for the sea can safely travel through the St. Lawrence Seaway, around Niagara Falls, and across the Great Lakes. The journey from the mouth of the St. Lawrence to its upper shore of Lake Superior measures more than 2,300 miles. The Seaway has been an important factor in international trade for both the United States and Canada. This is one more way that the Northeast is connected to the world. And down here you can see the St. Lawrence Seaway, and you can follow it all the way along, and you can see how it connects with all of the Great Lakes. This is a view of Niagara Falls from the Canadian side, looking towards the American side. Niagara Falls. Part of the St. Lawrence Seaway includes the Niagara River. It flows north from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. It separates the states of New York from the Canadian province of Ontario. The Niagara River is important to the Northeast for two reasons. First, the river is a source of hydroelectric power. Since the 1890s, using the renewable energy resource has made an important difference to the Northeast. It helped develop the Northeast, including Buffalo, New York, into an industrial area. Second, Niagara Falls, which lies in both the United States and Canada, attracts visitors from all over the world. When the Erie Canal opened in 1825, travel to Niagara Falls became easier. Today, more than 20 million people visit this natural wonder. Now that takes us to the end of our reading. So your last main idea section you can fill in saying that the St. Lawrence Seaway connects the Northeast to other countries in the world. You can talk about how it forms the border between Canada and the Northeast in different areas, how it allows boats to travel around Niagara Falls and across the Great Lakes. And you can also talk about how the Seaway helped develop industries and supported international trade in the Northeast. Once you've completed filling in the different sections for your graphic organizer, we can go ahead onto our next pages, 96 and 97. Now for page 96, it says write and cite evidence. In your opinion, how has the Northeast region been important to the world? List 3 ideas to share with others and use facts from the text to support your opinion. So in this section, you can include ideas about the impact of world shipping and trade. You can talk about the cooperation between different nations. You can talk about natural features that are shared by the different countries and provide additional details. In your pull it together section, where you're right under where it says connect the essential question, it says how have the connections the Northeast has to the world influenced why people have moved there? So while you're answering this question, think about details about how international shipping and trade have brought people to the Northeast, how that cooperation between the countries inspires people to come to the Northeast, and you can think about different areas that are there that are also important and enticing to make people want to come there. Once you've completed that, double check your spelling and grammar, make sure that you wrote with complete sentences. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have an amazing day, 4th grade. Take care. Bye-bye.